This is quite crazy. Social media, online coaching has been completely transformed thanks to AI. The way people view coaching, the way people view relationships and content in general has completely changed in the last 12 months. I want to dive deep into it in this video so you can actually stand out in this new AI revolution of social media, content, and AI, and be able to really grow and build and drastically succeed with your coaching business and your offer as well. So something really, really interesting is happening, and there's a few big things we want to talk about and go through today. There's a few big nuances. As you can see, I want to talk you through effectively the different commodities behind what's working right now in terms of content, in terms of offer, and how you can actually build your coaching, your content, your offer to actually really be able to succeed, grow, and drive with it massively as well. It will be a big thing I want us to go through. How to build trust as well. But ultimately, like what's happening right now is this robot, which is AI, ChatGPT, Claude, like all of these different things are helping people create massive amount of content. And it's actually destroying Instagram. It's actually destroying social media if you think about it. Because what's happening and the space just isn't ready for it. What's happening is there's just so much content, there's so much AI generated content being created at like faster than ever. Is creating one thing, right? And the big thing is creating is just massively decreasing the overall dollar sign and dollar value of information. So if you look at information for what it's worth, and I'm going to give you a very practical example of this. If we look at books in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, before the internet was ever a thing, the overall value and the overall cost of books was at the highest it's possibly ever been. The information was super high, was super valuable for books. Because if people wanted to learn a skill, if they wanted to learn a trait or anything, the only place they could possibly ever learn is by going and getting the books to do it. Then something very interesting happened around 2010, the 2000s, 2010 period. At that point, the internet started coming around and information became easier to get to. The same information you could get from the books became easier to get to. And because the information became easier to get, the cost, the value of books in general went down. Books became cheaper, it became easier to access things, right? And then another thing happened in 2026, which was the time we're living in now. The information, the cost of information has drastically decreased once again. It's at the lowest cost it's ever been to acquire information. So whatever coaching offer you have, if it's fashion design, if it's fat loss coaching, if it's confidence, mindset coaching, whatever it is, for your potential clients to learn the information to get the results, is the lowest cost of entry for them to learn the information than it's ever been in human history. The lowest cost has ever been. So what we need to do is actually understand that, and it's quite an interesting period, and how can we leverage that as well? A big problem that's happening in the space right now is that people are trying to sell information. They're trying to sell fat loss advice, they're trying to sell muscle gain, like here's how to work out your calories, how to tips, how to do this, how to do that. The reason that doesn't work anymore, it doesn't work anywhere near as well as it did before AI, is because the information, the cost of information is lower than it's ever been. You know, it's way lower. So if we're trying to sell information, if we're trying to talk about our coaching as this big information gap, it's not as valuable, it's not as useful. Because a ChatGPT subscription right now, an AI subscription is worth $10, $20. And it's not something unique, it's not something that's never happened in history before. Just 20 years ago, 10 years, 15 years ago, exact same thing happened. If you look at how the music industry and the movie industry changed, exactly the same thing happened. This big clunky thing of kind of amount was being given. You'd get like a CD with an entire album of music in that CD. You might not want all the music, you might not want all the info in that CD, you might not want all the songs, but you had no choice, you had to buy it. And now, thanks to Spotify, thanks to Netflix, the dollar cost for songs, the dollar cost for movies has gone drastically lower. Netflix is drastically cheaper to watch a movie than it was 20 years ago, before the rise of the internet, before the rise of Netflix. It was drastically cheap. It's drastically cheaper now to watch a movie. So it's drastically brought the cost down of movies. It's drastically brought the cost down of CDs, right? The exact same thing is happening right now with your information for your coaching offer. So the big thing we want to think about, if we want to stand out, if we want to continue to get leads, if we want to continue to acquire clients, one of the biggest, one of the most powerful things we can look and think about is we want to stop trying to be the guy that gives recipes on social media. And this is, I work with a lot of fitness guys, so this is not meant to be a knock at the people sharing recipes. But we don't want to be the guy sharing the recipes. We don't want to be the girl or guy. Here's the recipe. Here's the information. Here's how to do this. Here's how to cook a cake. Because information nowadays is recipe. People can go on TikTok. People can go on ChatGPT. They can get information very low cost, very cheap. If we're going to try and play that race and play that game, we're going to play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Very similar to this example. Who we want to be instead with our social media, with our coaching businesses, we want to be the chef. We want people, we want clients coming to us that want the finished outcome, that want the transformation. They don't want the information, they want the transformation. How are we able to start positioning our thing as certain, the outcome you're going to take people on? How can we start telling people, and how can we position it as a certainty? How can we give them all the tools, but also help and coach people through the entire process to make it as likely as possible for them to succeed? The more we can do that, the more we're going to stand out in social media, the more we're going to stand out with AI, the more we're not going to worry about AI coming to take over. Because we're the chef in social media. We're the chef, and the chefs in this example are irreplaceable. That's a very big thing we want to think about. You might be wondering about, how do I do this? Social media content, I'm just used to sharing tips. I'm just used to sharing how to do this, how to do that. Well, don't worry. I'll show you the exact 3 processes next, and you can see them on screen. I probably should have covered them to create a bit more suspense. But the 3 things we want to be looking at with our content in this new age of social media, of AI, and all of these things all together combined, is the 3 pillars of content to actually win, to actually succeed, to actually grow. The very first pillar we want to be looking at with content, this is the very first thing we need to focus on if we want to stand out, is pain. What is the pain of the person we want to work with? What is the pain? What is the problems we're trying to solve? How can we speak so specifically, so clearly to that pain, to that problem? Because the more clearly we can speak to their pain, the more we can call it out, the more they will listen to us, the more they will stop scrolling, the more they will actually want to watch the rest of the video. There's probably a reason I started this video saying, if you're worried about AI, here's what to do. Because I've jumped on a lot of calls recently in the last 30 to 90 days with a lot of people telling me this. And I decided to actually talk about this as a video. So how can we look at and find the pain points of our audience? So, and this is a very good example of this. How can we stop saying, and this is a very good mindset shift and a mental shift. Instead of saying how to achieve this, how to lose weight, how to dress better, how to be more confident, how to build more muscle, instead of doing that, what is the pain that this piece of content is solving? If the thing we're talking about, the value we're teaching, is how to dress better, what is the pain? Why does someone want to dress better in the first place if we're a fashion designer? The reason someone probably wants to dress better is to have more confidence, to feel more like an authority, to be taken more seriously. So we can start the exact same video. Instead of saying how to dress better, we can start like this. If you feel If you're not being taken seriously in meetings and you're losing money, here's how to dress like the business leader to achieve this. As an example, we're speaking very clearly to the pain. It's going to attract the right person to us as well. The next thing is the identity. What is the exact identity of the person we're trying to help? Or what is the exact identity as to where they want to get to? If we can become more of the transformational leader and more of the transformational guide that we're taking people on, it'll become way easier. So what is the identity that I want to become? If you're helping someone go from being fat to being in shape, the identity I want to get to is being in shape. Are we portraying us as the identity that I want to become? The more we can do that, the more we'll become an aspiration, and the more we'll become a leader that people can actually follow and want to follow to achieve the result. And the last one is connection. People kind of do this a little bit backwards with connection. They talk about connection as like, hey, here's how I can be here. Like they talk about connection in their content, or they use connection like too passively. They try and be build connection content, but just being everyone's friend. We don't want to be everyone's friend. We just want to be the leader, and we want people to feel connected to the person we can actually help, to the identity of where they want to go. Does that make sense? We want to connect with people, but we want to connect in a certain way. We want to get people to see our lifestyle. We want to show people the behind the scenes of what we get up to, how we get up to it. All of these things massively help from a content perspective. If we just focus about these 3 pillars from content, everything becomes so much easier to build momentum with. The next thing we want to look at is like, what is the trust stack, and how can we build trust in a space, in a social media space that lacks trust more than ever? I'm not going to lie to you, it was a very different social media game when I started 10 years ago. Very different. There wasn't that many people creating content. So inherently, if you just post consistently, you could probably get clients. Now we need to be more switched on about how can we build trust? How can we reverse engineer things to actually stand out online on social media, to actually build our coaching business? And here's a few big things we want to look at. The very first thing is like the personality, the process. What is your personality? Like, do you have something you stand for on social media? Do you have a purpose you're telling people about? Do you have a mission you're taking people on? If you have that, it becomes way easier. Much easier. And if you just haven't got that and you feel like you're not sure where to go with it, start by actually looking at like, what's the mission you're taking people on? What's the mission? What's the purpose you stand for? We have a client whose mission is very, like, an easy example of this. He's a male. He helps women in their 30s and 40s lose weight. That's his kind of underlying mission and his purpose. It was hard for him at the beginning in terms of getting people to connect to that. So we went deeper in his content, like, why does he do it? And the minute we got deeper and clear on that, it became way easier. And the reason he started talking about this in content, he does it, he wants to help mums and people and women in their 30s lose weight, because he saw his mum trying so many different diets when he was younger. She didn't lose any weight. She was in this constant yo-yo, and he wanted to help her. That's why he learned all of this stuff. And that's why now he helps so many other women do that. It's a very clear purpose. It's almost like a story that you can read in a children's book. Even a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old can understand your purpose, right? That's how clear we want our purpose to be. Another example could be, another client of mine. He helps people get in the best shape of their life, mostly younger males, like 25 or so, right? Get in the best shape of their life, 20 to 25 plus. Build muscle, get insane confidence, because when he was growing up, when he was in school, he didn't have the confidence. He didn't have the confidence to talk to girls, to attract girls, to do well with his schoolwork, or really kind of be vocal enough in school. So that's why he wants to help people, because he had the problem. This is 2 different examples, but I hope you can see it. Like, one is someone that's not you directly, and then the other one is you. If you're stuck on this, it'll probably be easier to look at where it was you in the past. What problems did you solve for yourself? And don't hold it to yourself, but how can you make that the cornerstone of your business, of your values, of your vision, of your mission? If you do that, it becomes so much easier. And how can you like constantly like go back and tell stories more than anything? Tell stories about who you are, who your clients are, what got you into it. Tell stories about what you're seeing that's happening in the news that could be relevant to your audience. If you do that, you build a human first personal brand, a human first coaching business. If you do that, sales become so much easier. Because ultimately, all we're doing with content, all we're doing is having conversations, but having conversations like not one to many, having conversations one to many. I'm filming this video, I know it'll probably get viewed 50, 100 times. Different people are going to watch it, so it's one to many. That's all we're doing with content. We're just having conversations, but the response rate is a little bit slower. You know, if you're doing it in person, you're speaking to someone, he's not in your head, you can get feedback quicker, and this is a little bit slower. That's all we're doing. People get too stiff with content. People get too robotic, too monotone. When you do that, it just doesn't have that same energy, that same excitement. And that's when AI is going to beat you. If you're too boring, if you're too unpersonable with your content, if you're not clear on what you're doing and why you're doing it for, you're going to get beaten by AI. People that are personable, have a clear purpose, a clear mission that they stand for, becomes much easier to actually win with social media. The last thing as well to keep in mind is like, this is only going to keep happening. Like this bubble here that you're seeing, it's only going to keep raising. Information, the inflation of information is only going to keep coming up. And if you're trying to hold onto this balloon of information and you keep trying to give more information, the more you're going to likely get left behind, unfortunately. The easiest way to let go of that and to get away from that and to actually win and to not have these drops in your business is to let go of the bubble. Let go of the information that you're sharing. Let go of building your business so heavy around just giving information. Because AI is only going to keep getting better and better. I've been around some in literally just 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, I was in a mastermind. Some very smart people around AI. And we're building our business with AI, with a lot of back-end systems with AI. Right, so like I can see this firsthand, and I'm not saying this from like a prediction or like a glass ball, right? So let go of that and if you want to win, just be more in the business now moving forward. If you want to succeed with it, change your focus from information to transformation. Be much more of a transformational coach than an informational coach. If you do that, success becomes way easier. And because less people are doing this correctly, you win much quicker. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit like and subscribe so I know what to post more of based on the fact that you like it, so I can monitor these metrics and I know what to post more of. If you need help starting, building, or growing your coaching business in 2026, there will be a link down below of this video to apply, to work with me one-to-one to do that. If you have any other questions, anything else, if you want to see more videos, just hit subscribe. If you have any more questions, probably check out some of the other videos because they'll probably cover them as well. Catch you in the next one.